students, welcome to CEC Gurukul Live Lectures. Dear friends, here we are for you with our another session on career counseling called Pratibha Samvardhan. And today we are discussing about IELTS examination. For this discussion, we have with us in our studios Miss Sania Ahuja. Miss Sania Ahuja is a motivational speaker, career counselor, and an educator because she believes in imparting education. She believes that with the help of education, one can make change in somebody's life. So we are going to welcome our guest, but before that, we would like to tell you all that you have this privilege to talk to Miss Sania. If you have any question in mind, do talk to us through our toll-free number. Our number is 1-800-110-430. I repeat, our number is 1-800-110-430. Now let's welcome our guest, Miss Sania Ahuja, once again. Miss Ahuja, welcome to the session.
Thank you.
Though you have given ample of information, ample of examples you have given through the previous session of ours, how one can be prepared for this particular examination. Now, what tips would you like to give to the students who might be watching you?
Apart from the focus, I believe for the listening section, listen to a lot of different accents. Watch shows, watch a lot of YouTube videos. People mostly struggle with Australian and Irish accents, which are rather heavy. So they find it slightly difficult to understand. American and British accents are relatively easy to understand. So look for videos that have Australian and Irish accents. So whenever they come up in the exam, you don't actually struggle. For the speaking test, I would say the best way, if you do not have an instructor with you, or you perhaps live with people who do not constantly communicate in English, record and listen to yourself. That is the best way. The speaking section actually does not have a timer, so they can cut you off right in the middle of the sentence. So practice your timing. You don't have a watch, not on the wall, not on your wrist, nowhere. So your timing also needs to be practiced according to your recordings. For the section that you need to speak between 1 and 2 minutes, record yourself. Listen to the grammar you have, how coherent you are, the kind of vocabulary you're using, whether you're fluent or not, or whether you have an accent or not. A lot of it goes into the speaking section. YouTube has great examples that you can look at. So if you search on YouTube, IELTS speaking test 8 bands, IELTS speaking test 9 bands, they will give you multiple examples of students who've done really, really well in the exam, so that you can use those as an example and move further in the paper. Apart from that, don't get distracted. Maybe before the exam, before like 1 or 2 days of the exam, don't stress yourself out. That is something that I tell all of my students. If you've prepared for, let's say, a month, and right before, like 2 days before the test, you're thinking you can achieve the world, that is not possible. Give yourself some mental rest. If you have done something in a month, that is going to stay with you for the last 2 days as well. You can look through the content, but don't try to achieve the world in the last 2 days. You won't be able to do anything. In fact, you would stress yourself and perhaps mess up your exam. So just revise. Don't look for a lot of new things. Don't experiment too much in the last 2 days. Just go with the flow with what you've been already doing, and make sure you read all the instructions properly. Make sure that whatever answers that you've given, if you're taking a paper-based test, you're writing in the correct answer bracket. So sometimes people actually miss a question. 11th question suddenly becomes the 10th, and the whole row becomes wrong.
Very true.
So please take a look, revise. That's why I say any section it is, revision is extremely important. In the speaking section, practice with other people. If I have to talk about it, my father, he initially started in a Hindi medium school, did his university in a Hindi medium school, in a Hindi medium college. And today he might speak better English than I do. It's a language, it's a basis of communication which can be learned. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to, kind of promise your own self that you have to learn the language. Communication, especially in India, is based a lot on English. It shouldn't be, but it is. English is a medium of communication like all the other languages, but it is given a lot of respect. Like you would see, people who speak in English are considered cooler than people who don't. I'm not saying that should be the case, but it is the current scenario in the society, and for jobs, India or abroad, learning English is extremely important, and it gives you a sense of confidence as well. So, if you are trying to learn English and you've been struggling with it in the past, maybe start with movies, maybe start with TV shows, maybe start with reading very, very simple books or simple articles that does not have a lot of complicated English. So maybe grade 9 or 10 English books. Those are relatively easier to read. So maybe start with all of that.
Very true. Now, all those students who wish to go abroad and planning to go abroad and pursue their careers there, I mean, if they want to go for the higher studies, what are the popular courses right now in different universities abroad?
From what I know, data analytics is doing crazy well. Especially if you look at countries like the US, the UK, Australia, data analytics is growing rapidly. Then if you want to go into computer science, you want to go into AI, these courses are doing amazingly. I mean, in India, the most popular courses that you would see are probably MBBS, there's engineering, there is law, and there's management.
Since ages.
Since ages. You would see parents pushing students for these courses because they seem to be more stable, right? So they will tell you if you do an MBA, you would have a stable life. If you do an MBBS, you would have a stable life. And the same goes for others as well. So we restrict ourselves from exploring new career options. So maybe if you're creative, go into the world of marketing or advertising or designing. If you think you have a rather good technical side, go for computer science, go for math, go for fintech. Finance became really popular, and mixing it with technology has given growth to the whole industry. Go into AI. AI is taking over the world. Artificial intelligence, I'm pretty sure most of you all use ChatGPT. I feel like it has become very, very popular. Apart from that, there are a lot of AI platforms that are there in order to make easier presentations, to make designs. A lot of jobs would become obsolete if you are not going with the trends now. So learning AI is extremely, extremely important. Not just learning how to kind of use AI, but also knowing how to work with it, how to teach people so that others don't struggle and you're able to guide themselves well.
Very true. Now, we also have heard about profile building. How profile building and why profile building is important while we are going for studies abroad?
People in India don't put a lot of pressure on building the entire profile. In India, marks are given a lot of weightage. The same system does not work abroad. They look at a holistic view of the child. So, if you're looking at a child's profile and if the child would like to go into an amazing university, you would need a lot to support your application. Beginning with a great statement of purpose. A statement of purpose tells the university people what you have achieved in your life, what hurdles and obstacles you have crossed. So you talk about yourself, you talk about what you've survived, you talk about how you've excelled, if you faced anything drastic that you've overcome, everything goes into that. Then you require strong letters of recommendations. This is for undergraduate courses, master's courses, anything you need strong letters of recommendations. Now this might be if you are probably going for a master's, you need letters of recommendations from your professors as well as from work or internships. If you're going for an undergraduate program, that would mostly be teachers from your school, your directors, your counselors, basically everybody who's at your school. So first of all, these are the two things, SOPs and LORs that you call them in short. Apart from that, your extracurriculars matter a lot. Your hobbies and how you have excelled in those hobbies. So if you're passionate, let's say I will take myself as an example. In school, I was extremely interested in poetry. So I used to do slam poetry back then, which continued in college. I was the drama head in my college. I was in Symbiosis Center for Management Studies in Pune, and I was heading the drama department, and I felt extremely passionate about drama. So these were the extracurriculars I was doing at that time. Apart from that, I was also taking part in Enactus marketing, handling MUN events. You know, it is very important to explore different passions and see what you're good at. If you are good at speaking different languages, then maybe get yourself ahead in those languages. There are a lot of centers in Delhi. There's Alliance Française for French. There are German centers here as well. So maybe go to those centers, excel in the languages or excel in dancing. There are a lot of classes in South Delhi as well as West Delhi. If you're good at dancing, go for that. Look for hobbies that you can excel in. Apart from that, publishing yourself is also extremely important. Maybe go for research papers that you can publish or write blogs. Those are very important. Your social media presence has to be there because your profiles are definitely checked. So all of that you need to look into. Maybe before you're going into college, do internships. Get a practical view of the field that you're actually entering. What if, let's say, I would like to go into marketing? I don't know how the career actually is. I've just studied the theory. I probably wouldn't know a lot of information. I'd study the theory and not like the industry. So it is very important to have a practical viewpoint on these things and not just go into the theory. So maybe do internships before you get into the university. They also do great on your resume. Last but not the least, which is actually a very popular option for students these days going abroad, are summer programs. So maybe look for summer programs that you can get into. They actually add a lot into your application.
Very true. And as you have already said about profile building, how well you portray yourself, who you are, and how you present yourself will definitely help you out in building your career as well as your prospect study in the foreign land. Now the question is, because you have yourself worked in different countries and you have worked with different students, now what issues and challenges have you overcome with different set of students? Are the issues and challenges same?
I faced a lot of challenges with students, primarily language barriers. So there was a time I was teaching Egyptian students and I had no idea about the language. Plus the cultural barrier was also massive. Then there were people I was dealing with who actually had learning disabilities that I wasn't aware of. So there is a lot of different type of students that I had to deal with, and a lot of obstacles that I faced. But a lot of effort needs to be put by a student. You can be a great teacher. You can guide the students well. Unless and until the student is ready to work upon themselves, not a lot can be achieved. And the time before the exam that you need to start preparing yourself depends on where you stand right now. If you absolutely have no idea about speaking or writing in the language, maybe start at least 2 to 3 months before you plan on taking the exam. You will need to have a lot of preparation. A language is something that cannot be learnt in a day. So maybe focus on that. Another great challenge that students and me myself that I've faced is networking. Outside, when people are going for universities, they're generally looking for part-time jobs. And networking has become extremely difficult because part-time jobs are not available on LinkedIn. You won't find them on LinkedIn. You probably wouldn't find them by calling up, people that you might have contacts with. I remember when I was in Canada, I had a printout, probably around 50 printouts of my resume, and I was passing them all over. So I did end up getting a job, and it wasn't the best. I worked there for 3 days and quit. And I realized I need to look for something in my field. So at that time, COVID hit, and I did not know how to make money. I did not know how to, use my skills. So I started looking for jobs. I started networking, looking at people who were sitting in restaurants and having lunch, if you can believe it. I was sitting at a table next to them and I'm asking them what do they do, if they have jobs. And when I did not find any jobs, I started teaching. And this is how my teaching journey started. And I started teaching and I realized, oh my God, I belong in this industry. I have a love for teaching. I love kids. I love guiding them. And there is a really, really big need to guide students today. So that is where my teaching journey started. Apart from that, during COVID, I was also working as a frontline worker. I was helping with vaccinations. I was helping with, people who needed help, old people who were struggling during the COVID times. So COVID was especially a difficult time. I'm sure it was difficult for everybody. But this is something that we all need to learn, that we need to make the best of our circumstances. And everybody faced a very difficult time, but it is important to express gratitude. This is very important if you are in a different country. You struggle with loneliness, you struggle with a new culture, you struggle with new people, you struggle with a different course. You are struggling with a lot of things. This may be the first time you got out of the house. You struggle with food. People like me who did not know how to cook before leaving the country, and suddenly COVID hit, I had absolutely no idea what to cook. So there are a lot of struggles students face, and it is extremely, extremely important that you're grateful. Maybe tell yourself, this is what I do. Journal in the morning, put a gratitude journal in the morning and tell yourself that if this is my biggest problem today, I am lucky. For example, I broke a nail. My hair before this meeting was not setting, and maybe my lipstick is smudging, or the eyeliner is off, or my heels broke. If this is the biggest problem that I'm facing today, I consider myself lucky. Maybe think like that. Things would go a lot easier if you're abroad.
Very true. The obstacles we face in day-to-day life helps us out, and it helps us in making better version of ourselves. Now, because we're talking about the better version of ourselves, for all those students, as you have already given an example, where a person who is from Hindi background, for him, it's a challenge because he has to survive in the world where English is the most important thing, and it is a survival language, I would say. Now, all the students who are from the rural areas, but they have this privilege to dream, and everybody has this privilege to dream. And if they are dreaming big and they want to go abroad, but preparing for IELTS, it's a big, big dream before that. So what those students need to do from the very beginning, how they can enhance their language, particularly English?
Firstly, mentally prepare yourself that it is not going to be easy. You need to have the mental strength to know that this might take a while and it's not going to be the easiest task. You are about to learn a language that you are not familiar with, that you haven't been speaking, that is not your native language. So, and then give yourself time. You need to give yourself enough time to prepare. I know a child who came from a small village in Haryana, and I remember in the first 2 months of classes, she did not utter a word. She was so scared of being judged, and the fact that, she wouldn't clear the exam, people would judge her, she never spoke a word. And then one day she came up to me and I sat with her and she's like, I'm from a village where my parents don't speak the language and I don't know a word. So I sat with her during my breaks and we started with grade 1. We started with tenses, we started with articles, what are adjectives, what are verbs. And I met her day before yesterday. We're still in touch. She cleared her exam, just by the way. She's going to the UK very soon. And the only reason why she cracked the exam, one, She worked so hard. She looked at where she was making mistakes. I tell this to all the students, if you are working hard, you still have to look at the old mistakes that you've made. If you've written something and you've made 500 mistakes, go through them, then write the next one. Next one would have 300 mistakes. Read all of them, then go to the next one. Then she heard a lot of recordings that are present in the IELTS exams. She watched a lot of movies, even though she did not understand all of them. It was a great struggle for her, and I've met students like that who were absolutely struggling with no background. Some of them were not as strong-headed as that girl was. Now she's going to the UK, she's confident enough to, stand in a crowd and talk. And that is the biggest prize that I could get out of this. Her hard work, and not just her hard work, but
a dedication.
Dedication and just observing where she was going wrong. That observation needs to be there. You can work like a horse, but if you're not working in the right direction, it's not doing you any good. So revise, look at your mistakes, observe, especially take guidance. Guidance is extremely necessary. If you think you are not great at the language, please get a teacher. The exam is not cheap. The exam, I think currently it is for about 16,500. So it is not a cheap exam. This is not an exam that you can keep on taking again and again, especially if your economic background is not that strong. So please make sure that you're prepared for the exam before you plan on taking it.
Ladder to success is not that easy, what we think. And as you beautifully said over here, that assessment is very important. Whosoever we are, whatever we are doing, even if we are professionals, one should keep assessing his or her own work. Because if we want to add the top ladder, at the toppest step, then assessment becomes very, very important. And yes, as you rightly said, अपनी गलतियों को खुद assess करना, कहाँ गलती हो रही है, so that particular mistake is not done again. Though the another mistakes we tend to, commit, but still that particular mistake we haven't covered. So thank you so much, Ms. Sania. You have given such an insightful session, and I believe that all the students who are aspiring to be in the foreign land, whether for work, whether for the higher studies, they will make their way because you have given them a right direction. So thank you once again for your delightful presence over here, and we would like to have you again and again in CEC Studios.
Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to contact me, I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Sania Ahuja. Please contact if you require any help with your career or you need help with other things regarding your exams. Please contact me. I'm there to guide you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, dear friends, for watching us. And all those friends who are not able to watch us live, you have this privilege to watch us through our YouTube channel. We are going to upload this lecture on YouTube for you, and you may watch the lecture the number of times you want it. And afterwards, if you feel so that you have a certain question, you have some feedback to be given, then do post to us at cecgurukul.live@gmail.com. We will try to give answers to your questions right from Ms. Sania, who would be personally writing to you if you feel so. So friends, we would be meeting again next Thursday, and we would be discussing on another important topic related to your career. Till then, keep watching us and keep writing us. Thank you so much.